Lloydminster's downtown core has been spruced up with potted flowers, fresh paint and new sidewalks, but there are still signs of urban decay in the area, including graffiti and vacant commercial lots. Robert Buffum explores why some local businesses say they're struggling in the downtown area.
Big box stores and strip malls dominate the landscape on the west side of town. It's a vibrant retail heaven for chains like Walmart and for shoppers, all of whom we spoke with don't make their purchases in the city's downtown core.
No, I pretty much do all my shopping out here. There's not a whole lot downtown.
With kids, it's a lot easier just to go one-stop shop kind of thing.
Basically everything you need's out here now. So I think half this town's probably waiting for them to build the mall across the road so they never have to head out that way.
Meanwhile, here in the heart of the downtown area, if you scratch just beneath the surface, things are looking more run down with things like loose wires, graffiti on walls, businesses going under, and broken windows. Businesses through streetscapes have invested money in beautifying downtown. But despite these steps, graffiti covers walls on some buildings and vacant commercial spaces have sprung up.
The city should be promoting downtown and they're not doing that.
Phyllis Hunchak is frustrated by the lack of help from City Hall for small businesses. And she says flowers and fresh coats of paint aren't cutting it.
That's superficial. That's not the real core of drawing people here. A potted plant isn't going to draw me into a building to do my business in.
Hunchak thinks the city should be providing cash incentives to attract small businesses to the downtown core.
If the city wanted a manufacturing plant to come into Lloyd, they'd probably give them a really good deal on a piece of land. They'd probably give them a tax break. But what do they do for retailers, for small businesses? Zippo.
But the city disagrees. So do you think there's something the city could do to encourage businesses to locate there?
Well, no, it's not the city's responsibility. The city's responsibility is to make sure we have equitable growth and economic wellness across the entire city.
The mayor says the city's role isn't to subsidize certain areas with taxpayer money.
No, it's not the city's responsibility to invest people's tax dollars from any other sector of the city into the downtown. It's our responsibility to help them generate an experience, a value proposition, and going concern businesses in those areas where they feel they should be.
And this property valuation expert says downtown centers often experience growing pains.
Yeah, I do. I do think in part the vacancy rate in the downtown core in part is attributed to natural cycles of growing communities.
In fact, Galen says it's inevitable that a new center for business and shopping will one day replace the current one. Robert Buffum, Newcap News.
Residents at a Lloydminster seniors home were treated to a vintage car show on Wednesday. As Jessica Isaac explains, it was an opportunity to dig up memories from the past.
Walter Mitchell loves old cars. When he was younger, he dedicated 5 years of his spare time to fixing up an old gem.
It was a 1927 Model T Ford.
For Mitchell and other residents, the car show was a trip down memory lane.
We have 2 residents for sure that have been car dealers, mechanics, whatever, and we have 1 resident, Walter Mitchell, who's repaired antique cars.
The seniors' home puts on all kinds of activities for its residents, from barbecues to bands. Organizers try to provide as much variety as possible. This is, however, the very first time they've been treated to a car show.
Some of them have talked about different cars that they used to own, so I'm hoping some that they owned are here.
Mitchell remembers his vintage car quite clearly and his reasons for choosing it.
It was old, the same age as me, 84 years old.
And although his Model T restoration may have been in the past, it's not completely gone.
I sold it to my nephew. He's out in BC. And I made him promise that he'll keep us in the family.
Jessica Isaac, Newcap News.
This year, farmers have had to deal with some extreme weather conditions that have resulted in some unforeseen concerns with crop growth. In this week's crop report, Shauna Roshak spoke with the Canadian Wheat Board on what these concerns are and how they may affect this year's harvest.
Across the prairies, farmers are getting ready for harvest. CWB Representative Vic Shapansky anticipates farmers east of Lloydminster to hit their fields in the next 2 weeks.
We'll see some wheat being swathed and a lot of canola will start going down probably this Friday.
And west of the border city, some fields are still flowering.
There's probably about 15% bloom in some of the crops still.
With the late start to the growing season, Szczepanski says second growth is apparent with some crops, potentially delaying harvest for some farmers.
It was really dry in spring, and some of the seeds didn't germinate, so now we've got 2 stages in there. So in a lot of cases, they have to wait for that second stage.
Another concern for this year is with the above average rainfall in July, fields are very wet.
Farmers don't want to lay down the swaths in a wet field, so I think there's going to be a little bit of hesitation. Hopefully the weather changes.
Szczepanski is also suggesting farmers may want to price their products ahead of time, as the markets over the last week have been rallying, with prices on the rise.
It's up about 50 cents a bushel, so it's not bad. It's above the pro right now. Yesterday's fixed price was $8.69, and that's basis Vancouver. So prices are strengthening a little bit.
Shauna Roshik, Newcap News.